Good morning.
Good morning.
And thank you all for joining me. And thank you at home for tuning in. I appreciate all of you. So I heard this statement, but I don't remember from where. But it says, create an environment where others can come up for air. Isn't that great? And that statement kind of sticks with me because that's how I believe. That's how I want to create. That's how we want to create that space here. A safe environment where others can come up for air and take a breath of hope. Because I know that life can be hard sometimes and can weigh you down. Like Glennon Doyle says, we can do hard things. And I agree with her. We can do hard things, and we do them every day. We get up and out of bed when everything is screaming no. Whether it's our stiff joints that are causing crippling pain, or our muscles that are aching, hoping that we don't move, or maybe it's our emotions. Maybe mentally we feel overwhelmed or unequipped for what lies ahead. Or maybe it's the sadness, the grief, the darkness that is causing us to feel heavy-hearted. And we can't bear to walk outside, to step out into that glaring, stark world, but we do. We place one foot on the ground, then another, and we stand. We rise, and we courageously walk and do what we must do. We endure, we progress, and we move forward. And the catalyst for that is hope. Hope is what moves our feet. Hope is what gets us up in the morning, and hope is what gets us through the night. Hope. You know that saying, time heals all wounds? Well, it doesn't. But hope gives us reasons to keep trying. Hope gets us beyond the hurt. Hope gets us beyond the fear. Hope. When it was time for me to create my sacred vow for my ordination, I didn't think of it intellectually. I let it kind of gently bubble up out of me from that deep center. And I wrote what is similar to the prayer of St. Francis of Assisi. It said, Lord, make me an instrument of thy peace, a beacon of thy light, and a safe harbor of thy love, to serve all with compassion and humility. That was my vow of service. But I realized many years later now that I can change that and just bring it down to one sentence. God, let me be an instrument of hope. Make me an instrument of hope. The word hope has always resonated with me. At an earlier retreat, we had to come up with a catchphrase for what our individual paths would be. And mine, I chose a rope of hope. All my creations, the way that I set things up to help the environment that speaks reverence and honor, and really in its true essence, it's an environment that envelops you in hope. At home, I have on top of my dresser, it kind of looks like an altar. Yeah, that's kind of, right? Kind of looks like an altar. Yeah. Every person depicted there is a guiding light. I also have oils from Israel, the rose of Sharon, frankincense, and myrrh. I have holy water from Our Lady of Lourdes. I have blessed water from Mama. I have my mother's rosary beads. my Aunt Helen's beloved statue of Mother Cabrini. I have several angels mixed all throughout it. Even one angel that comes with a bell, Clarence from It's a Wonderful Life. Every time you hear a bell rings, an angel gets its wings. I also have a beautiful Tibetan prayer bell right there. All these are my sacred hope. All of this helps me to get out of bed each morning. You can put the light back on now. That's what helps me. That's the essence of my sacred hope. And you may or may not know that Reverend Sue has stars that glow at night on her bedroom ceiling, right? And I think when she gazes up at them at night, that those stars probably are her sacred hope. We all create space to hold hope, whether we realize it or not. And it doesn't have to be religious. It can be a wall of family photos. It could be your grandchild's drawing on your refrigerator, or a beautiful landscape painting that moves you. And I think for sure, at least for me, coming here and being together is hope, isn't it? Isn't it? Yes. I was worried there for a second. On goodnet.org, they list 6 ways to nurture hope. 1, positive thinking. Try to stay upbeat and focus on what is positive in your life. 2, engage in a religious or spiritual community. Well, we do that, so we got that one checked off. 3, practice forgiveness. Right, Kathleen?
Right. Tuesday, 2 o'clock.
Tuesday, 2 o'clock.
Wednesday, I'm sorry, it's Wednesday.
Wednesday.
August 2nd.
Okay. When you practice forgiveness, you let go of pain by being forgiving. Forgiveness is so powerful, it can actually reduce anxiety and depression. 4, seek inspiration. Foster hope by staying inspired. Listen to your favorite music, paint a picture, take an awe-inspiring walk in nature. 5, choose a hope mentor. Who inspires you? It can be someone you know or a person from history. Like Martin Luther King Jr. never gave up hope when he aspired for freedom for all. Or your hope mentor can be the Dalai Lama, who is a symbol of love and kindness throughout the world. You pick. 6, help others. Volunteer at a food bank or teaching literacy, because you will always feel more hopeful when you help others in need. Helping to make the world a better place inspires hope in yourself and in others. That's a good list, isn't it? Good suggestions. So now I have a little story to tell you. A nurse entered a patient's room 2 hours before scheduled operation. She was fixing a vase of flowers for him, and while working around the room, and then suddenly asked the patient, "Sir, which doctor is doing your operation?" The patient replied, "Dr. Jason." Upon hearing the doctor's name, the nurse stopped and dropped everything she was doing and rushed to the patient's side. And with a very surprised look on her face, she asked, "Sir, really? Dr. Jason really accepted your operation?" And the patient said, "Yes, Dr. Jason is the one doing the operation." "That's very strange," said the nurse. "I can't believe that." Well, now very troubled and alarmed, the patient asked the nurse, "What is so strange about Dr. Jason doing my operation?" And the nurse sat down next to his bed and said, "This doctor, Dr. Jason, has performed thousands of operations so far, and his success rate is 100%. Due to this, his schedule is always packed, and it's very difficult to get with him. So I'm so surprised that he has time to do your operation." And the patient replied, "Well, maybe it's my good luck that Dr. Jason has got time to perform my surgery." The nurse with a great big smile said, "Yes, Believe me, this is a surprise, and very good luck indeed, because the best doctor is performing your operation. Just then transport came in and it was time for the patient to be taken to the OR. Now the patient was feeling very hopeful and very relaxed, and it turned out to be a very successful operation. The nurse who was in the patient's room was not an ordinary nurse, but a psychiatric doctor of that hospital, whose job was to prepare patients mentally and psychologically for their operation and clear any doubts that they had. This time, the doctor had done her job by decorating the room with a bouquet of flowers and very beautifully placed in the patient's heart and mind that the one who would perform the operation was the world's most famous and most successful doctor, whose every operation was a great success. This is also known as the placebo effect, a well-documented phenomenon in medicine in which those who think they are given a new and effective treatment are more likely to recover than those who know their treatment is nothing new. So the something new is what they are saying changes the attitude. The new treatment says to the patients, this one may work, where the old one didn't. So the new treatment offered really is not the pill, not the fluid, not the diets, or even the world-famous surgeon. What's being offered is hope. What gives us strength is hope. What's helping us persevere is hope. I saw this post and it's absolutely perfect here. It said, on particularly rough days, when I'm sure I can't possibly endure, I like to remind myself that my track record for getting through bad days so far is 100%. And that's pretty good. Now think about that. I mean, we've all been through tough days, right? And obviously we've made it through it. So our record is pretty good. And I pull an affirmation card out of my B deck every once in a while. And this one that I recently got, I want to share a bit of it. The card said strength. Strength does not come from winning. But when you go through hardships and decide not to give up, that is strength. That is strength. And that is courage. And they both rise up in us because of hope. Hope that it will get better. Hope that we will get through this. Hope that this too shall pass. Another story for you. One day, a monk gave a talisman to his good king before leaving and said, always keep it with you. And whenever such a situation comes in life, when you feel everything is going to end, if you feel yourself trapped, when there is despair and frustration, then and only then you open this talisman. Am I saying that correctly? Talisman? Okay. The king thanked the kind monk and wore that talisman around his neck. One day the king went hunting in the forest with his soldiers. While chasing a lion, the king got separated from his soldiers and mistakenly entered enemy territory. The enemy soldiers noticed the king and started pursuing him. The king tried to get away, tried to hide from them, but he couldn't seem to get rid of those soldiers following him. Now the lost king, suffering from hunger and thirst, saw a cave in the middle of the forest and decided to hide inside. He sat down holding his breath, the sounds of the enemy slowly coming closer and closer. Alone, surrounded by enemies, the king began to think of this as his end. He thought his moments were few before the enemy would catch him and kill him. His hand went to his talisman, and he remembered the words of the monk. He immediately opened it and took out the paper and read it. It was written, "This too will pass." Suddenly the king felt an indescribable peace in his soul. He thought, if this dreadful time would also pass, then why should I be worried? Having faith in God and in himself, he stayed in the cave in silence. After some time, the sound of the enemy's horses started going further and further away, till soon there was peace. The king came out of the cave and wandered in the pitch dark, and somehow when the sun rose, he found himself in his kingdom. The end. This too shall pass. Is that not words of hope that the monk put in that talisman? Because that hope washed over the king as peace, and he rested in the faith that all would be well, whatever well meant. It's important that we keep our hope alive, and we keep an optimistic attitude as we continue doing our everyday routines in life. And with that spirit that says, I can do this. I am not alone. I have support. I have faith. And this troubling time, this tough circumstances, this unbelievable situation, this too shall pass. There was a post that really struck me. It said, someday you'll tell your story of how you survived this, and it will become the way that someone else will overcome too. Wow. Is that not the best hopeful statement? Your story of triumph, your story of perseverance, your story of hope will be the new treatment for someone else. It will become their hope. Let me share this with you. During a brutal study at Harvard in the 1950s, Dr. Kurt Richter placed rats in a pool of water to test how long they could tread water. On average, each rat would give up and start to sink after 15 minutes. But right before they gave up due to exhaustion, the researchers would pluck them out of the water, dry them off, let them rest for a moment, and then place them back in the water for a second round. In the second round of the experiment, how long do you think these traumatized, exhausted rats lasted? Now remember, they just swam until their little bodies gave out, only a few short moments before. So how long do you think? 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or the original 15 minutes perhaps? Yeah. 60 minutes. 60 more minutes of swimming. They treaded water for another hour. The conclusion drawn was that since the rats believed that they would eventually be rescued, once again like they were in the first round, they could push their bodies way past what they previously thought possible, because they now had hope. If hope can cause exhausted rats to swim for that long, what would a belief in yourself and your own abilities do for you? So what we are talking about today is that in any situation or circumstance, and in every moment, what makes the difference is that you have hope. Bless you. So you can keep swimming, because hope is your life preserver. Hope. 4 little letters that makes an infinitely huge difference. I thought of you here, Jerry. She always creates these anagrams, I think they're called, right? You take a word and go vertical with it, and then 1 letter at a time you make other words with it, and then the whole thing creates something significant, a meaning of sorts. So I did one for hope. Remember, hope running down. So H. honoring. Honoring where someone is, sitting with them, holding space with them, being the anchor, the steady ground. O, offering assistance, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, giving them seeds, options to consider. P, positive. While they are in the darkness, be their light. When they are down, lift them, guide them, show them that there is a path forward. Be their beacon. E, environment. A safe, inspiring, helpful place where they learn that they are never alone, where they can come up for air. See, you are never alone here. We got you. We'll sit with you. We'll hold you. We'll offer guidance and assistance. And like the post that I recently shared on Facebook from Sketches in Stillness, it showed a mouse sitting in the dark night, and his friend, a little lightning bug, was sitting next to him with his arm around him. And the caption read, "When you can't look on the bright side, I will sit with you in the dark." We will sit with you and remind you in our silence that the light of hope is within you. And here is an environment where you can come up for air and take a breath of hope. As Ernest Holmes said, there is no need to fear anything in this life if we believe that, called on or not, God is always present. If we believe that we have available at all times the wisdom that created the universe and which can and will overcome anything that disturbs us, then we shall never be afraid. God is in every moment, every joy, every tear, every confident moment, every scared second. God is always present. That is our eternal hope, that we are never alone. I have this statue in the front of my house by my front door. And I painted these words on the front of it. It said, "You are strong. You are brave. Roar." Roar. Well, you are strong. You are brave. And you can do hard things. And no matter what storms you have to go through, you will not walk it alone. You will never be alone. So walk on it with hope in your heart, my friends. Thank you. Namaste.